you have a question?
Richard Obert of the Arizona Republic in Phoenix. I was going to ask either of you guys, when you watch film of Grand Canyon, what jumps out at you about those guys? I mean, because they had a wild run. They didn't look like they were going to get here at all, but then they go off and win 6 straight and shoot a lot of threes and stuff.
What you just said, they make a lot of threes. They're a team that has had to fight their way to get to this moment. So they're going to come in ready to play. So, a team that, they know what they're doing and they get a lot of threes up.
Third row on the right.
Travis Green, Crim 2 News in Spokane. We just talking about the guards a little bit. Grand Canyon, a guard heavy team. Does that put some pressure on you guys in this matchup?
I think you could say that just because those are the main guys that are getting the shots up and kind of, the majority of the offense will run through them. But I think it's the same defensive plan as every game, kind of going through the WCC playing tough guards and throughout the season, the non-conference schedule playing tough guards, I think it's something we've had to do before, we just got to lock in and get it done.
You got questions for the student athletes? Okay, we'll go right in the second row.
Simple one, maybe not a simple answer. What was the biggest challenge or what was the toughest moment for this team this season, that you feel like shapes you now to who you are as a team?
I would say some of those early non-conference losses, everybody was kind of speaking about us, trying to throw in the towel on us and try to say our season was over or, overrated and stuff. And we just knew that if we just stayed together and worried about the voices in the locker room, that it would prepare us for, matchups like this. And we've had some great wins against non-conference opponents as well. But, some of those losses, you could kind of feel like the tension of just everybody trying to talk about who we're going to be and what's it going to look like. But I think we just stayed locked in and stayed together, and you see where we are now.
For me, I would say probably after the LMU loss, just kind of going through that, that kind of tough time. Nobody kind of expected us to lose that one, and they came out and punched us in the mouth, and we had to come back and fight and just kind of have faith in, the WCC championship and things like that. So we just had to really come together and blindly just play, not really focusing on rankings or anything anymore, not being number one or not worrying about any more records, just really just coming together, having to win games, and I think that helped us a lot. I would say past years, they think Gonzaga just kind of blows through the WCC, without even having to try to play hard or, kind of go out there and just win games by 30 easily. But, that's not the case since I've been here, and especially, that game, losing that one, it was kind of unexpected. But I think it woke us up and really showed us, we got to play our best basketball at all times.
Third row here on the right.
Kind of building off that there, Raj, with, the loss that you guys did have LMU, just that help you maybe not sleep on any teams, especially here in the first round at March Madness?
Yeah, I would say that for sure. I don't think we were sleeping on them. I think they just kind of, came out and kicked us in the butt. But I definitely think, it helps with not sleeping on teams. We can't take games for granted. We can't just come in, thinking we're the best team. We're just going to go out here and win easily because they had to fight to get here. They did some pretty miraculous stuff to get to this point. And I'm sure they're not coming here just to lay down and lose. So we definitely got to lock in.
Over here on the far left.
Jim Mahan, Spokesman Review. They're led by Ray Harrison, guard about 6'4", kind of scores it maybe inside the line is pretty well. How do you deal with him? What have you seen on tape watching him?
He's a good scorer. He's kind of like the engine of their team. He can do a lot of great things, but like Rasir said, we played a lot of great guards throughout the year, so we don't have to try to, do anything different or spectacular. We just have to play our game, play solid team defense, and I have all the confidence in the world, in our team.
All right, we'll go online. If we have any media who are online that need to ask a question, please raise your hand function, use the raise hand function, and we'll get to you. Anybody online? Okay, hearing no questions online, we'll return to the room. Any other questions for the student athletes? All right, hearing none, gentlemen, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. If you are watching this press conference, we are awaiting head coach Mark Few to join the media in just a couple of moments. Before Rasir Bolton and Malachi Smith were both speaking with media about what they're looking forward to in the March Madness tournament as Gonzaga prepares for their first game of the tournament against Grand Canyon University tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. So we are going to take back to the press conference live in Denver, where again we are awaiting head coach Mark Few.
He's not here yet. I'll just set it up when he gets here. Okay.
Now the second time.
That's right. Thank you. All right, we'll continue with Gonzaga Bulldog head coach Mark Few. Again, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you a handheld microphone. Please identify yourself and your media affiliation as you pose the question. Coach will take an opening remark.
Hey, I mean, it's just another great time to be still playing and obviously involved in the greatest sporting event in the world, at least as far as I'm concerned. And, we're excited. Had a little bit of time off, obviously, with our tournament ending. So guys have had a couple good practices and are focused, and, we're just ready to get going.
All right, we'll take questions right here in the middle.
Richard over at Arizona Republic. Grand Canyon, they modeled themselves after you, Colangelo, Mueller, when they came into this 10 years ago. And lots of respect for you guys. And when you look at these guys, what kind of jumps out? Do you see any, because you were there in the beginning when you guys started to take off, do you see any kind of similarities?
I see a lot of similarities, and Jerry and I have been good friends through USA Basketball. And I mean, I just have the utmost respect for, the type of person that he is and what he's been able to accomplish throughout his life. And they do remind me, they're the one, we get asked all the time about from numerous schools, whether it's me or our assistants or our AD or anybody, our president, how do we do what you do? And I would say Grand Canyon is probably the closest thing. If you look at, what they've built, the success that they're starting to have or have been having, and then the following, their fan base, their home environment, kind of all of those things would seem to be kind of on par with, how we started getting it going 25 years ago.
Second row in front.
Mark Kisla, Denver Post. I guess this is under the heading of how do you do what you do and how do you keep doing the amazing things you've done with all the changes that you know better than I do, portal, NIL. Why hasn't the Pac-12 or the Big 12 scooped you up, and why has the WCC been so good to you?
Well, I mean, that's a question for them, not for me. Right. But WCC has been great for us because it hasn't gotten in our way. The best thing we've done, I think, over the years is even back to 99, we wanted to stay in growth mode. We did not want to just be a one-hit wonder. And I was always pushing and pushing and pushing. We've had great leadership at the athletic director position. We've had two great presidents and Father Spitzer and Thane McCullough. We've had a great board. And then we've just, been able to just to not stay still and to not stay satisfied. And it's been a challenge. And to your point, within this last year, this might be some of the greatest challenges we're facing with portal and NIL and just lack of direction and rules and regulations and stuff like that, especially from a program that likes to follow rules and regulations. So, but I think this team's almost indicative of that. I mean, every year it's different. This team, I think was under some pretty heavy scrutiny early in the year, and rightfully so. We weren't playing that great, but they lo and behold have held up to the expectations put upon the program, and here we are back in March, and they're playing their best basketball. Yeah. I mean, we're always looking at what's best for Gonzaga. And like I said, how do we grow? And so we got to measure out all these opportunities that are out there and figure out what's the best path moving forward to keep our program on the highest national level, which is where we're at.
We'll go in the second row, far right.
Dave Bowling, Spokesman Review. Coach, has this been a year where you had to push more buttons as a coach to get them to where you wanted them to be? And what are maybe one of the two top messages that you had to get across?
To really get them to what?
To be where you want them to be.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, sometimes I bristle at that because every year is different, and I think, as awesome as that team was in 21 during all the COVID ridiculousness, that took a lot. We didn't have any fans, man. And to try to get your team up each and every night when you're ranked number one and there's literally nobody in your home gym, you just walk out of the locker room into the kennel. You've been to the kennel a million times. And that was hard. That was really to sit in the same floor of a hotel for 31 days in Indy and not get tired of each other. And continually keep making up things to stay excited and stay focused and not lethargic. That was hard, but this team probably not letting them bow to kind of they were feeling the disappointment, I think, early and beating themselves up pretty good mentally. And so that was a big challenge for our staff. And then, I always say you got to hit the Zags standard, and they were not hitting the Zags standard in a lot of areas. So I always feel that's my job to kind of be the heavy in that regard. So, I mean, sometimes it's not all fun and games being the Papa Bear of the group, but made for some long practices, some long weeks, some long months. But I would say this, it's been very rewarding to see individually how some of these guys have responded, but more so collectively how the entire group has responded. Kind of makes you believe in coaching again, maybe, and maybe in this generation a little bit too. It sometimes takes a lot of heat here and there.
We'll stay on the right side towards the back.
Austin Getz, KHQ TV. Coach, you always hear about NCAA tournament experience, and this team certainly has a lot of that. Where does that show up, on the court or just in the weekend?
I mean, I think it shows up on a day like today. This is a very unique day for a player. Our normal day before the game does not include, basically 6 hours of doing stuff. And traveling, and we're going to do a light shoot around here, but then we go have to find another gym to work out. And I mean, our program gets tons and tons of media scrutiny, but not at this formal a setting. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things to adapt to the schedule and all that. And then just handling the pressure and expectations that come with those NCAA moments.
Left side on the aisle.
Hey, Coach Eddie Pels from AP, kind of a little bit of the same question, but especially at the beginning of the year and with the loss to Loyola, out here, if you read the stuff, it sounded like Armageddon was hitting your program. I mean, is that, you had said you expected it to be a slow start.
Yeah.
Was it Armageddon out there?
I mean, it depends if you listen to, Jimmy and Johnny behind the keyboard in their mom's basement, or if you, listen to the staff. No, I mean, I don't know that it was Armageddon, but I mean, early in the season, we were just turning the ball over too much, and that's not usually indicative of our program. And so, that was a real challenge for us. And then there's always a challenge of returning experienced players on a really, really good team, but, maybe they weren't in those alpha roles. And that's not anything, not unlike adding a new guy to your program. I mean, and some guys can step it up and make those changes. I think if you look at a guy like Anton Watson, I mean, it took him a while to the point where now he's really stepped up his productivity and kind of hit the expectations that we were all hoping for him. But it's funny. We lost to Loyola Marymount, and I think Houston is awesome. I mean, and I think incredible. And then the year that they've had, but they lost to Temple at home, and nobody said anything about it. And Loyola's net and Ken Palm are higher than Temple's, So I mean, it's like, so, and I think as a coach, like I said in an earlier interview, I'm the type of guy that is worried about our Division II exhibition opener, about getting beat by them, So I kind of go into all these games like, these guys could beat us if we're not on, and I think what it made me do is made me appreciate those 74 games that we had prior to that at home, and to be able to do that, win 74 straight, especially during a COVID year with nobody even around. I don't think that thing will be touched, moving forward from here. So we didn't panic. We just stuck to the plan.
On the left side, towards the back.
Coach Paul Arnott, the Victory Bell. Just a question about the Drew family, and have you connected with Homer at all in the last couple of days, and what's that relationship like with them?
I love the Drew family. I mean, it's one of, just one of the greatest, coolest families out there. Just how strong their faith is, how close they are. I mean, I don't know of any father, son, lineage just seems to have been able to do what they've done. Maybe there is one, but and they're fun, positive people to be around. I was on a text chain with all three of them earlier in the week when we all got sent here. So had some barbs going back and forth, and then I was able to chat with Scott out there on the court.
And I want to ask about Roger Powell too, just, his relationship with that group, and just kind of how important has he been to your success in the last couple of years?
He's been incredibly important asset or person and entity on our staff. I mean, he's just again, a man of great faith, which is great to share with everybody in the locker room. He just has garnered so much respect from everybody. He still plays with our guys once in a while, and more than holds his own, quite frankly. And I think our guys love that. And he's such a positive person. He's done a great job recruiting. He's done a great job game prepping. I mean, he's the real deal. We're just so fortunate to have him. I know this is one of those, strange games. It's like if I was to play, or we were to play Boise State with Leon, or back we used to have to play Billy Greer at San Diego. Those are like, you're playing like family. If Gonzaga and Arizona have to meet, I mean, you're talking about kids and families that have spent years and years together. So those can be kind of weird.
We'll go right here in the third row in the middle.
Travis Green, Crim 2 News in Spokane. Coach, now that you've had some time since Selection Sunday, just what are your thoughts on this Grand Canyon team and the matchup?
I mean, just scary, really scary. I watched them make, the other day I watched them make 10 threes in a half. I mean, there's probably 3/4 of the teams in college basketball don't make 10 in a game. I would guess, probably more than that. Probably 80% of the teams don't. So just amazing. They're on a incredible run right now. They're seeing a huge basket. Bryce does a great job. He mixes up his defenses. He's very creative on the offensive end. They're experienced. And again, they're hungry, right? I mean, I think they've been hearing about and watching and seeing Gonzaga over all these years. So, I mean, obviously they are hungry to knock us off. So that's a dangerous combination.
We'll go in the aisle in the back.
Alex Crescenti, KXY TV in Spokane. Coach, this tournament's all about, the lower seeds beating the higher seeds, on a consistent basis throughout year in, year out. And, you come into this tournament normally as one of the higher seeds. How much do you reiterate to your players every single year, just the dangers of some of these, double-digit seeds?
Yeah, I don't know if we'd like necessarily talked about dangers. We just, again, I think they fully understand, especially coming from the conference that we're in. There's just so many good teams out there, and seeding doesn't really matter. And I think once they've watched highlights now of Grand Canyon, they get it, they see it. So I think the seeding's more for everybody dinking around with the brackets and all that. The players and the staffs, it just becomes more of oh, here's our task. These guys do this and this and this really, really good. And if we don't do something about it, then they can beat us. So, and I would just say, as long as I've been in this thing now, every year, everything seems to be shrinking more to the mean, as opposed to, I mean, we've been in enough of those 116 games that you're like, holy smokes. I mean, last year I walked out for the tip in Georgia State. I think they were bigger than us at dang near every position. And I'm like, this is a 16 seed. And so, I mean, I think that's kind of where we are right now, especially with the transfer portal. I think everybody thought that was going to hurt some of maybe the lower level schools, but what they've been able to do is, gobble up 5th and 6th year guys. And I think that's made them tough outs. And we certainly notice that in our own league, as we're still trying to groom some maybe a freshman or sophomore types. So it's really made for great competitive balance.
Final question over here on the right.
Jeff Legwell, ESPN. Mark, I'm just curious, following up on that, do you think your 20-something players feel different pressure as a number 1 seed or a number 3? And is that something you would address as a coach?
Yeah, we just talk about being the hunter, man. We talk about that during the year because this is the same stuff we deal with all year. I mean, Drew will tell you, I mean, I think we walked out in a scrimmage back in November, it was in October. And he couldn't believe how fired up Tennessee was to try to knock our heads off in a scrimmage and celebrating afterwards. That was a scrimmage in October. So, I mean, this is something that we deal with a lot. Obviously, this is at the ultimate level for that. But yeah, we just kind of stick with our same, hey, we need to be the most aggressive team tonight. And, we'll stick with that same mantra.
All right, very good. Thank you, Coach.
Yep.